and doing a Happs testimonial and talking about viewing stats and also podcast artwork. And right now I'm holding up my hand like doing like this. High five. So high five. High five for hemp is my new podcast. I will tell what the development of what's going on there. And right now, as I said in my broadcasting schedule now, my plan is doing on Tuesday, like Tuesday Tech, Free Things Tech, around 3 p.m. Central European Time. It's soon 4 a.m., 4 p.m., but I've been busy with some other things, so you have to do it in a, as I write something with provisional. It's depending on other things, but I want to test different time zones and different periods of during the day in order to see the viewing stats and also building viewership and readership and listeningship, if you could say that. So, and on Wednesday, I was starting on doing a wrap how the week have been, and tomorrow, thanks to Marcus, just in time activity, I will be at the business mingle called Mer Smak in Swedish, and that's more taste or tasting for something more, something that you want. It's a pretty funny word in Swedish, Mer Smak. So that's a business mingle and meeting, and we will eat something very tasting good, and then having connections and listen to talks and having a jolly good time. So that will be tomorrow, and that probably will be until 6 p.m. So I often have the wrap at 6. I started it like 6 p.m. is middle of the day, and Wednesday is the middle of the week. So that's why I want to do it. But it could be a bit later tomorrow, and then on Thursday, it's Thursday Thunder by Tor. Tor is for Norse, and Thursday is torsdag in Swedish. So I want to ventilate something, and probably, as I said, I'm not a subscriber of The Economist anymore, but this is the latest one that I got from them. And do you look who is that? Maybe you'll change the flag with the Afghan flag now, because he had probably will get some heat. What's going on in Afghanistan now, and maybe you want to listen to my take on that. And as you know, soon it's 20 years since September 11, 9/11. So that will be probably some reflection also on the secular foxhole with my co-host Blair. So on Thursday, comment analysis, ventilating on an article in The Economist. And on Friday, it's thing going on with Friday Fun and doing a follow, and that's will come back here. Somebody will follow me here on Happs, and I'm looking forward to new followers also. And when I was on the VIP list here on Happs, I got followers every day. Could be hard to catch up with that, so you have to have a strategy and think about that. But I like the atmosphere, and now it's 8 viewers here. I like the atmosphere here on Happs. It's feeling like the old days in blogging when I started blogging in 2002. You made connections, and with that connections that I did, starting my blog Egoist or Ego blog on egoist.blogspot.com back in the day by Blogger, it was an enterprise, and then it got bought up or purchased by Google. So there I got connection, for example, with Anita Campbell of Small Business Trends. She started the blog as a newsletter first, and a business newsletter, and that developed into a business portal and an online publication. So if you do these things, it could lead to things also, and things could take time. And then on Saturday, it's uh, this tea drinking party in a way. Cheers! I'm drinking Assam black tea from India. I had it often at 9 p.m. around that, but now I will have it like a siesta when you have been sleeping in Spain. Maybe it's around noonish time, so it could be like 11:30 a.m., noon, 12 a.m., maybe until like 1, 2 or something like that. A bit flexible on Saturday, depending on what's going on. So then it will be 5 days of 7 days in a week. And we'll see if I manage that. And hopefully, when I get fixed with the adding guests, so it will look good on my smartphone, and also the connection, I would invite guests, so you could have some roundtable and discussion and so on. And what Happs has a very interesting idea. You could say it's like how do you say that in English? It's hävstång in Swedish, but it's like a trampoline or you're jumping from one thing to another. So if you have a certain followers here on Happs, and then you have, as I have on Twitter, like 5,000 followers, and others in Facebook and so on. If you have a guest that also sign up for free, as you could do, and get 100 coins here on Happs, and they have a followership, they if they join you as a guest on your broadcast, they could connect their social media platforms and channels and whatever you want to call it, and that will spread or distribute to them also. So that could be like a ripple effect. So I want to test that out and see for the long run what could happen. So this is a testimonial to have. Thanks again, Eileen Smith of Eileen, like yeah, on Twitter, Eileen Smith, like Eileen, her short name. And it's funny, she put in parentheses how you pronounce Eileen on her profile there. And talk about pronouncing, I will set up here on coffee, and that's pronouncing no fee, because they don't have any fee on the donations like Patreon and others have. They take a cut, but I pay premium because I don't want to have to joke. Donate, buy me a coffee. It's more buy a tea for Lyceum on coffee. Cheers. But it's interesting to see how coffee, like an alternative to Patreon, how they have developed their services. So I have some ideas about membership, and also you could have commissions and donations one time, but also regular, and also creating interesting things. So see how that will go. So thanks again, Eileen, for inviting me to Happs. Now I will listen because I've been babbling for 8 minutes. If it's working on Facebook, yeah, it's working. So it's working here on Facebook Live, and that's also something that I talked to Peter about. When you have guests, I have a live lavalier mic here using here from Rode, and in order to hear what's going on, because I'm using it, and now I oh, testing. So now I will listen to myself. So do do your checklist. It's how is it sounding? I will. Okay, so I had it on my shirt here, but I didn't plug it into my phone. I had plugged in my how to say the connection, the battery, and the monitoring phone. I probably want to have that in the future. Also, I had the pre-Sonos uh, monitoring headphones, but something have happened with that. So now I have a simple cross uh, headphones in order to listen to that. So I want to get that for the future also. So lots of things here. 19 viewers here, hearing me babbling for 10 minutes. So anyway, so that's the testimonials. Again, thanks for inviting me, Eileen, and I will stick here to Happs because I see this potential of this broadcasting platform in different ways. So, and I think I almost could buy a cup of tea now for what I've got in donations. And high five awards, that's 50 cents, like a $half, and thumbs up and this kind of thing. And I have lots of coins because I participated in a challenge, so I could give to other content creators, and I will be more active there also to in this community to listen and watch what others are doing also. So the second thing is stats. This is free to use Happs. So I wonder with the stats, one on one of my broadcast session, I got like 100 views, and I wonder where are they coming from. I I regularly get like maybe 50 in total, and on live it's now have increased, I've seen. So now it's 19. Sometimes it could be one, but if it's one thinking individual, one viewer, that's so-called enough. But now it's 19. And then, of course, it's how much you watch and how much you take in. If you zoom out, or how you call it, fade out, or because you don't have to watch the whole session, and you could watch in the replay. And that's a good thing with Happs also. It's archived depending on how you set up the connection or links or distributing to the different destinations. So you could then watch later on YouTube, for example, and Twitch. Thanks, Marcus, for following me on Twitch. So, and I see there also I could build a community there, but I'm not a gamer. But maybe, as I said, uh, back in the day, I played games on Commodore with the joystick, Commodore 64, VIC-20, and Amiga 500. Maybe I could find some emulator on, maybe they have that on like an app, and I could play here. I don't know who would want to watch that, but you never know. So that could be a fun thing. So again with the stats, it's, I mean, you could, and as a podcaster you could be, how should I say it, stats and damn stats. You could, it's important when having like the so-called the persona here, who is watching you, and who are your target audience, and who is listening, and so on. But it's interesting to get the stats also. And as a podcaster, you could see that I have now most of my podcasts on Captivate, and they have great analytics page, and you could, and that after taking time, like after 3 months, you could starting maybe see some trends, what's going on. And there is an example of a secular foxhole, the secular foxhole. We will soon celebrate, Blair and I, 1 year anniversary, and I've seen how we started out with 0, and now per day, the average download per day, and I see new unique listeners coming to the show, depending on who's talking, if it's Blair and myself. And Blair have been great as a co-host, and now my flashlight is out, so hopefully you will see me anyway. Maybe I should get this ring light, but I like this prepper light, but it after some time it's off, so you have to charge it again. Anyway, Blair, thanks. We have been testing here as a guest how to work on co-hosts, because then we could have a follow-up with guests on our show. So, and I don't know how many you could have in total. Maybe it's 6 or 5 or 8 or 10. I don't know. But on my screen, it will be very small then. So maybe 2, 3, 4, maybe could work out fine. So Blair have been very good at inviting guests with context and that could fit our show. So we will have a talk about our anniversary there, and talking about milestones, about our guests and future guests and topics, and a new segment that we will have, and so on. So, and that's leading to, so I'm interested to learn more about the stats. Maybe it will be a premium feature on Happs in the future, or maybe we could get access to the stats more in detail, more fine-grained. I don't know. So I will ask a question to Pablo and Peter and folks at Happs if it will be available in the future, if that's on the how do you say, timeline, or the map of developer of a program. So looking forward, and now it's a great connection, and it's $0 here for donation right now, but you could get that, and I will come to that in the replay also. So I hear I'm babbling here, so I have to take another sip here. Cheers. So that's stats, viewing stats with Happs, and also downloading stats as a podcaster. And I have a question for you. Do you know how many stats or unique stats downloads, and when you could talk about what's a download, and have you really listened to it, and what's a stream, and how many, and what's a listener, so a unique listener. But anyway, do you know of all podcasts out there, and there are now on the paper or on the stats talking about stats like the podcast index and others, it says like in the millions now, but how many are active on a regular basis? And then you could be a regular, even you do podcasts, maybe 2 episodes per year, like Hardcore History. I don't know how many episodes he is doing every year, but that's like, wow, that show. But often, maybe like every 2 weeks, fortnightly basis, every week. Some are doing like John Lee Dumas, he did it every day, and because he wanted to listen to podcasts, and then he said, oh, maybe I should start my own podcast, Entrepreneur on Fire, or now it's called, I think, EO Fire. So, and you could do it, every 2 weeks, as I said, or monthly. Maybe that's too seldom, but I have said on my thing on the Ego Netcast that I started 2006, and then I had a break for a long time, and now I recently did a new episode, and I will do another one near future. And I say I will try to do it on every month, and it's more like a laboratory for me now. But I will stand for it, and I will, as a new media advisor, said, do as I say, not do I'm doing the joke. But as I said, I'm involved in almost 20 podcasts in different ways nowadays, as an advisor, as a editor, as a host, as a producer, as a new media, as an advisor, and yeah, and I want to be involved in more podcasts in the future, and helping and inspiring others, individuals, brands, organizations, and businesses, small business owners, to start their own podcast. So that's the thing. So every month there on Ego Netcast, like a spotlight on a Biz Sugar member, and also my reflection about the podcasting industry and the podosphere and so on. So that's coming out to the third one, and now I see 25 viewers. Great. It's Adam Tinkoff here, content creator, and that's also my testimonial. Thanks, Happs, for creating this service, because now I am now in contact with Adam Tinkoff here on Happs, and he reached out to me, and he is giving me thumbs up and awards, and I appreciate that very much. And I start following his blog and so on. And he said, "Are you still interested in having a co-host on your podcast, High Five for Hemp?" And I said, "Yeah, yes, I am." And now we have had back and forth conversation by email, and also we had a Skype talk, and we are now planning how to do that. So I will do the episode 2. First, it was a trailer for the podcast, and I was planning to have that launching it around April 4, like a nod to the 420 people out there. For the record, I'm not a pot smoker, but I'm for legalized. So that's now, but the focus on the podcast is industrial hemp and hemp products. So anyway, I was planning to do that around April 20th. But then iTunes, that's now called Apple Podcaster, they had some, Apple had some conference, forthcoming conference, and then they also developed this new one with, now you are not saying subscribe to my podcast, you should say follow my podcast, because now you could have a premium feature on Apple. So you could get paid or you could have a private RSS feed. So now then they had to change the whole iTunes, that's now called Apple Podcaster Connect podcast, and work with that. So it had some hiccups, I think. So when we had shut down or it was hard to add new podcasts. And then things have happened during the spring here and the summer. And now, thanks to being active here on Happs, and thanks to Adam watching me and saying kindly words here, kind words. Thanks again, Adam, for your input and for viewing and reaching out to me. Now I have a co-host for my new podcast, High Five for Hemp. Really looking forward to develop this podcast together with Adam Tinkoff. And he's really an indie podcaster, has lots of experience. I listened to an interview, a conversation he had with Rob Walsh of Libsyn on podcast 5411. That's like 411, isn't that like dialing, like not an emergency or what it's called, 411? Isn't that the case? Or maybe it's something else. Or it's 411, his zip code or phone area code. I have to figure it out. Is that Philadelphia? 411? Adam or Rob or some other? So, and now 29 viewers. Thanks. Something with the algorithm here with Happs. So, in 2006 he had this interview and he was talking about his challenge, like weight challenge, and 20 weeks pounds for 20 weeks, and he had talked with me with his running experiences and so on, and also his interest in this industry, in the industrial hemp. So yeah, wow, I'm so glad about this, and thanks again to Lars E out there, and about pushing my limits for this and see the potential with this podcast. And I will check a thing here. Me and names here. So, wow, by the way, I got an email from the US Department of Justice, investigative case, court case so and so. I wonder what's that. It's I don't know if it's a class action or something. Very interesting. I couldn't reply. They say do not reply to this email. Anyway, I will see here on searching for names if I said the right name to Lars. Yes, it's Lars Engström, Lars E. So thanks again, Lars, for pushing the boundaries here and pushing me and the limits and seeing the potential with this new podcast. High Five for Hemp. So stay tuned for that. So I will do a solo episode here. I was planning to do it yesterday. I will do it here during the week. And then we will have planned a recording, Adam and Undersigns, yours truly. And we will go from there. And we have created like a space on Dropbox paper that we could put with episodes, show notes, topics, guests, ideas, etc. And then we have also talked about the artwork, and that's the third thing, podcast artwork. I know the soul of podcasting, I think, the blogosphere and the podosphere and the indie podcasters, and see the potential for business owners and brands and organizations, personal brands, as I said, to do that. So my inspiration and my higher calling, so to speak, as a secular and a free thinker, is to get individuals starting with a podcast. Same as you have a book inside you, you have a podcast inside you. And then of course it's this thing, as I asked how many are listening to download, and I could reveal it here. According to Libsyn stats and statistics from the official podcast, the feed, They have that on a regular basis, telling about the stats, and they are a big market player in the podcasts, where together with Blueberry, Buzzsprouts, Podbean, and Captivate, and others. So they say it's about 150 unique downloads is the average, or the mean, or how you calculate it. They take off the biggest one, the one that are percentage that have 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, millions of listeners, and then the ones that have one, two, whatever, or testing podcast, or maybe some anchor podcast out there that have started lots of anchors because it's free, it's simple to start, and so on. And then you see the regular ones. As I said, the podcast index says it's millions of podcasts, but maybe active, maybe 500,000 could be. Anyway, 150 is the number, I think, when I last time heard about it. It could be more, it could be less. Now, I see potential growing markets like the Spanish speaking podcast could be one thing. And in India, I think is could be a huge market in the future. And then the Google gets their acts together, and on all Android phones it's installed, like on Apple phones, the Podcaster app. When they have installed the Google Podcaster app and the search function, because I've heard good things about how you could search for episodes and podcasts and topics and keywords, then I think maybe we shouldn't use the word explode, but it will increase, because still number top list. I don't know if it's still 50% or 60%. Spotify have some, I think, their views about that, but Apple Podcast is a big player still, and around, we could say, 50% of listeners using Apple Podcaster or some other means, or iTunes that is now Apple Podcaster, and so on. And then number two is Spotify, around 10%, I think. And after that, it's a huge list of smaller podcasts app. Like one of my favorite is for iPhone is Overcast. I like that. And now Adam gave me a tip about Podbase, and I will look, or Podbay. I will look into that neat app there. So that's interesting. So 150, but think about it, if now 150 would watch your stream. Now it's 41. Wow, it's getting there. But 150 people in a conference room listening to you and taking an active decision and role, and want to listen in with their ears, listening to you. And the good thing, in a way, you could do other things. You could drink tea at the same time as you listen to podcast. You could be out walking the cat and other things. So yeah, so that's the stats, and also thanks again, Adam, for reaching out, and I look forward to our cooperation and our show here now together as a co-host. And the third thing is then, as I said, podcast artwork. As I said, I understand podcasting industry, but I'm not a tech person, even if I know and very that to use microphones. I want to have it simple. I have some other microphones like Samsung's Meteor. I like shiny gadgets. One day I want to have what it was, this English British. It's now bought by, I think, a Chinese company, but it was that I said, wow, that could be. And out there somewhere, it will be a mic that's for my voice and sound. And I don't know if I would find that, but I like simple ones like this. IK Multimedia iRig my cost. That's working for my phone very well. And then I will get their Rode Plus, because it's a bigger cable and it should be a better performance, I think. And then again, to have for different situation when with the live streaming and so on. So, but I'm not a tech person. That's why I like Happs also, because it's simple to use for a non-tech guy. And also when I'm doing recording with Ringer, for example, it's very easy, and it's built for podcasting. You could use Zoom and Skype and others for recording also. but maybe it's not the optimal way of doing it. You could use it like a backup plan or for watching or listening when you're having the audio and then see somebody on Skype, for example. That could be good thing. And it's other alternatives out there also. So, and then also to do editing and post-production, and where I'm using Arlo 2 and Colin Gray. I interviewed him on my podcast, Ego Netcast, and that I could manage to handle. I have also bought, it's called Ferrite on my iPad. So I'm on a couple of podcasts. I'm using that as a double ender and recording it on my iPad because I have Ferrite there. So that's good. And then Johan Gustafsson is doing the editing there and put them together. So, but I like the simplicity and how to use it for a non-tech layman person. So, coming to when you're starting a podcast, you have like 2-3 things or 4, depending on how you see it before you start. You have, of course, to have an idea, and then you have the name of a podcast. You have to have one piece of recording, probably more than 1 minute, and then you have to have an artwork according to Apple Podcasts specification. It's very, it's like minimum 30 something pixels and maximum I think it's 4,000, but then it should be less than 500 kilobyte, or how you call it. So it's a taking small space, but it should be lots of pixels. And for a non-techie person, again, how do you get that together? Then you could, for example, go to Fiverr, and I did that. One content creator there on Fiverr that I've used, I think she is in Indonesia several times, and there you get it for for $5 and up. I think I paid $20-30 for artwork. If you go to a regular studio or on an AD or someone working with that, then of course it could be more expensive, but you could get it more professional also maybe. So, and I see that Adam is have great skills in that also. So we have looked into that to have a new artwork in the future. But as a podcaster, you have to, in order to get it going and accepted by the big player, Apple Podcaster, you have to have a file, audio file, a certain, it should be an MP3 file, I think, in order to work on different players. You have to have a name, and you have to, check the different check marks, and then the artwork. So audio file, name of podcast, and an artwork. So I have had, issues with that, and Apple have changed it over time with how many pixels and the format and the RGB colors and whatnot. If for a person that wants to start with podcasting, that could be a jungle. So I see a market there also for artists, creators, and others to help podcasters with that. Or maybe in the future, some simple tool. I know my co-host Karina Ridenius, she had made artwork for our podcast presentation skills in plain English and presentation skills Q&A in Canva. And that works also. So, but it must be that non-techie skills. So when I went to Canva, I understood the idea, but I couldn't make it. So, but Karina made it. And then again, now Adam did like this, and he sent me an email with this new artwork. Wow, it's great. Because artwork you use for other things also when you have starting to getting a fan base, followers, listeners, regulars, whatever you want to call it, and supporters. You could use it for example, merchandise. You could put it on, like Captivate is talking, Mark Asquith is talking about how to get moving and growing. So it could be a simple thing like, as I talked with coffee, a membership thing or support. You could say, send $1 or send $5, what not on a regular basis or one time, and you could send a sticker with your artwork, and people could put that on the bags, the notebook, whatnot, or maybe ask a venue to put it up somewhere public so people see, and they could use like a QR code or something like that, And then you get this organic, another listener, new listeners, and somebody will word of mouth and so on, spreading the good word. So that's the artwork. It's an important thing. And I could mention that as an ending. My co-host and idea creator of a podcast that I inspired her to start a podcast is Karin Blad. And that's a podcast in Swedish called Viktigt på riktigt, what's important for real. And that artwork, it's so beautiful and nice. It's created by her daughter, and it's like an apple tree. And it has lots of interesting ingredients, you could say, and elements in that artwork. And it really stands out when you watch it on Apple Podcast or Spotify or Overcast, and you see it's sticking out, and you check a certain category and you see, wow, you could see it. And I think that's a good thing also. But that's a challenge also to manage to do that if you're not creative or artistic in that way. But that artwork is lovely. So now I've been talking for 35 minutes, I think, and almost 50 viewers. It's 48 viewers here. It's another record here, I think. So cheers for that. And again, as I said, on tomorrow, Wednesday wrap, it will be around 6 p.m. Central European time. Now it's saying good, not great connection. Now it's fair. So maybe that's a signal that I should end the broadcast session here soon. Now it's good. Could be the Wi-Fi, something. That's interesting. And now it's great again. Cheers. Great. So that's for now, I think. And it would be interesting when I get the feedback and testing it more times with this guest thing, because then you could add somebody to the broadcast session, and of course you could tell them before that, but you could do it on the go also and see if somebody is online and want to join your broadcast. So I think that's also pretty neat here. So that was the 3 things for Tuesday Tech. Happs testimonial by yours truly. And thanks again, Eileen Smith, for inviting me for this platform. Another one is then stats for Happs, viewer stats, but also for podcasters, unique downloads, and other things like that. And then the third thing is podcast artwork. And again, thanks Adam Tinkoff for reaching out to me here on Happs and asking me if I was still looking for a co-host, and I am. Thanks for that again, and I look forward to doing the podcast High Five for Hemp together with you, Adam. So with that, I say now around 39 minutes and 48 viewers, $0 so far, but maybe somebody will chip in after the broadcast had ended. You could do that also. And again, I will do this script here on Happs, a sample comment that if you are enjoying my broadcast, I encourage you to download the Happs app today and subscribe for more content. You will even get 100 free, with capital letters, coins for joining, which you can use to support my world, I think it says. And pro tip is also to start your broadcast by inviting viewers. And I will now end the broadcast with saying that download the Happs app, subscribe to get notified when you go live, and support my work on Happs. And with the notification, I could say I follow so many now, so I have ticked off the notification, because otherwise my Happs, the app will saying bling, 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 bling the whole time. But then you could actively check who's live now. You could do that on going to happs.tv, and then you will see when you log in, see the feed there, your personal feed, and who's live, and also the Discover tab, uh, who's on there also. And then, of course, you could search. I wonder about that also, the search function and feature on Happs. If I want to search for a content creator in a certain country, like, or Happs in, for example, do they have content creators in Afghanistan? Is that possible? And for example, we have talked about Cuba in the past, and now I think that's a burning topic. I think I saw that on Twitter, my stream trending topics. Taiwan, Republic of China, they are feeling, they're wondering what's going on in Afghanistan, and will the commander-in-chief, Joe Biden, will he be a supporter of Taiwan and the security there? Or will China, communist China, mainland China, see opportunity now when this when it's in things going on in Afghanistan to see a possibility to strike? They have said that officially, and I will check that up and probably we'll talk about that also, what's going on in the world. So yeah, with that, again, I say cheerio and talk to you soon again. Cheers. On Wednesday wrap tomorrow around 6 p.m. So over and out.